And now, live from Level 5 Productions on the island of Milleronia, it's the Larry Miller Show. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and everyone who loves a man in a uniform. Hi, folks, and welcome back to the Larry Miller Show. I'm Larry Miller, but in a way, aren't we all? And boy, oh boy, is it ever beautiful here, and it's on the mainland. And I'll tell you why I'm on the mainland again. And I think it's a good story, too, but it's just gorgeous. You know what? It's been very hot here in Southern California. Very, well, not just very hot, crazy hot. Like not okay hot. Like even people on Mercury would say, it's too hot here. And, but I feel wonderful, and so does Colonel Jeff, and so do our little dogs who are here in the studio with us today here. And, well, as always, I mean, the music makes me feel so good. That's, of course, the Garry Marshall Orchestra and the Beth Ann Lehman Dancers featuring boy tenor Mike Lucking asking the musical question, does Milleronia have a dress code for its Walmarts? Yes, we do, Mike. Yes, we do. We have, by the way, we have a great Walmart, and yes, we do have a dress code for it, and we have a dress code for everything, though. We do not take bad dressing lightly on Milleronia. Now, you've all seen this. We all have. You've all seen young teens and adults, to their parents, and far too over-casualized in the way they dress in church and temple and funerals. Why do we do this? There's got to be a middle ground, between suburban mothers wearing white gloves to go shopping and flip-flops in the White House to meet the president. I always want to say to them, and I'll bet you do too, hey, was the president wearing flip-flops too? No, he wasn't. Was he wearing a sharp business suit and nicely shined shoes? Then why don't you dress like that in the Oval Office when you're coming there to accept an award for your 12-year-old? Have we all lost our minds? You already know the answer to that. Yes, we have. But here on Milleronia, our parents teach their children to dress with respect. And if they don't, they'll soon find themselves escorted up to the first volcano. Let's see how they dress for that. Boy, though, good question, Mike. Yeah, let's all dress a little better. And so that we don't have to make all our movies from eras when people did dress better. And as you know, I mentioned it, that was the Garry Marshall Orchestra. It's very meaningful to love that man still, and to tell you about it. As you may know, Garry Marshall, the great Garry Marshall, passed away last week, and I'm so proud that I got to know him and work with him so often. And boy, I just always loved the guy. Folks, sometimes in show business people get a little crazy, and perhaps you've heard about that. But sometimes you get someone who's just as wonderful as his work is, and that sure was Garry Marshall. I loved Garry and Barbara, his wife. I loved their whole family. Scotty, one of their kids, Kathleen is great. What great actress, too. You've seen her in a lot of Garry's movies, but, Scotty is a great director. And, for crying out loud, the whole family there, Penny Marshall. And you know what, though? Garry was what a peach he was. What a guy he was. Colonel Jeff was just mentioning how Garry Marshall came to one of his classes at AFI, the American Film Institute, and it was very casual. They asked him to come in and speak to the class, and he did. And he comes in, and he had a very nice voice, and he did a perfect rhythm, and he would talk. And you know what? Colonel Jeff just said, you really did get the feeling he loved show business very much. And I said to him, and I'm saying to you, you know what, folks? He did. God bless him. He was made for show business. He was made to create things, to be a storyteller. And there were scenes in movies. I remember I saw something at a screening of one of the movies that I was in, by the way, and I saw one of the other actors say something, and I just knew that was Garry's line. I just knew that, and I said that to him when the movie was over. I said, that was your line about Federal Express, wasn't it? Because, it was just great. And it was delivered by Hector Elizondo in this case, who was a wonderful actor. But that line, boy, let me see if I can remember. That's right. Oh, it was The Runaway Bride. That's right, with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. And she runs away again, and she after and everyone's sad. Oh no, it's now 3, 4, 5 times she's been a runaway bride, and she runs away, and they're all in the church there. They're all looking out, and she hops on the back of a Federal Express truck. And as the truck goes off in the distance, someone just says, with sorrow, oh, where do you think she's going? And Hector Elizondo nods sadly and says, well, we don't know, but one thing is for certain, wherever it is, she'll positively be there by 10:30 tomorrow morning. And that's when I heard that. I said, you got to have Garry Marshall's head to make that up. But boy, oh boy, I loved that guy. I love every one of his sets, wherever the location was. Every single one was a happy set, and you don't run into that a lot, folks. I mean, happy set where when you get to the location on the first day, and you can see people, you can see men and women walking along with pipes and lighting and grips and everything. Folks, I'm telling you, just from seeing that, you know if it's a good set or not. You really do. And that was always the case with Garry. I'm just laughing. I wanted to tell you, he said to me one time, this was on the Princess Diaries movies, one of the first or the second one. He was very sweet. I was in both of them. And he said to me, because I was playing Paolo, that's right, the Italian hairdresser. And so I had an Italian accent for it. And he said to me, and there were two beautiful girls who were my sidekicks in the movie. And he said, okay, listen, we'll make them, they're not Italian, they'll make them Germans, okay? And the cinematographer on this movie, who was, I can't remember his name, I think it was Gunther, and he was German. He was born in Germany, from Germany, grew up in Germany, lived in Germany. And he said to me, go over and tell him, get a couple of mean things to say to the girls. And because he knew we'd make it funny, of course, but he said, get a couple of mean things to say, and then you'll tell me, and we'll write it up together, and and you'll have a couple of things to say to them in German. So I did that. I thought that sounded good to me, and I went over to the cinematographer, and I just said, they were getting set up for another shot, and I said to him, listen, can you give me some mean or slightly risque things to say to the two girls who are on my side, because they're going to be German now. And so looking for something mean where Paolo can, just be very short-tempered with them. And folks, this guy straightened up the cinematographer. He said, no, there is nothing like that in German. And I didn't know what? There's nothing you should, I'm just looking for something. No, nothing like that in German. And he kind of stormed off. And I said, what in the world? And Garry came by. I said, did you talk to him and get a few? I said, no, he wouldn't. He wouldn't say. He said, there's nothing like that in German. He said, what? That's ridiculous. Everything is like that in German. And the whole thing, you could tell him you want to get some ice cream in German. That's fine too, but just tell Tell him I told you. So I went back there and told him again. I said, now wait, don't get mad. Don't get mad. Because I said, Garry just told me to get this from you so that we can make it funny with the girls. And boy, he didn't trust me at all the way I had first said it. I don't know how I could have said it differently, but he did. He gave me a couple of things to say. It was just a couple of words here and a couple of words there in German, and I just wanted something, as any actor, I just wanted something. I knew I have a pretty good ear. I wanted to say a couple of things where I knew I could spin it just right, like a curveball, and I knew I could just slice it and step on it just the right way. So he said, so Garry, I went back to what they call Video Village, which is under a tent there. That's the headquarters, sort of, when you're filming on a location, especially on a lot somewhere, and you're there, and there's director chair, and everybody else has a chair there, and they got the video all set up. Did he say something now for you? Did he give you something? I said, yeah. I told him. He said, unbelievable. Saying nothing. There's nothing like that in German. Everything is like that. But folks, every single thing he did made me laugh. He had such a skill for knowing. Well, on one of the, by the way, it was the Princess Diaries movies. One of them where they had a big homecoming parade for the princess, for Anne Hathaway. Boy, Garry just knew how to make things. Then oh boy. And they had a parade going, and this was on the Universal lot. And I had an office there anyway. And I came over. It was so wonderful. I just left my office during mid-morning one of these days just to go up to the set, to where they were filming. So it was only, it's a movie studio, so you can walk up anywhere, and wasn't that far. What is it? A couple of 100 yards, and I walked up there. And folks, this is why movies are great again. Just right on the steps where Spartacus was filmed, the same place. And they had the people coming around, and they really set it up well. It's a big movie. And the people were marching. There was a marching band, and all the characters, were in it. And by golly, and just to sit there under the little tent there where Garry was and all the folks were, and watching them, just glancing outside, people really marching in real life to get the take right, and with a marching band, and it was wonderful. And he says hi and smiles, and he was always eating tuna or something, he just, everybody always brought him things, and he said, sure, it's good. No, you got your office here, and I said, yeah, I just came up to say hi. And he said, well, all right there. And you just, and then you get the pat on the shoulder and say, you'll see this. You like parades. Who doesn't like a parade? And they did it. And folks, I thought it was pretty great. I thought, it's good to be in show business. And I said, I'll see you later. And I just waved and said goodbye to the folks in the tent there. And I walked back down to my office and waved at a couple of the folks in the parade who were all, for crying out loud, who were stars. And as I walked back down to my office, I thought, it's pretty good business, show business. Well, there are things maybe I don't like, and there are things maybe I don't get that I wanted, but that's nothing. What a wonderful day. You're in a movie, you're watching it being made, and then you walk back down to your office on the studio lot, go back inside into your office, and finish daydreaming about the other young women in the hallway there. But that's something else. God bless you, Garry, and rest in peace. He's the greatest guy in the world, and no one was ever funnier, and no one ever knew how to make a story better. And by Amazon, PayPal, and my book. That's right. And Amazon is still the greatest company in the world because I'm telling you they do three things no one else can do. Number one, you can order anything in the world you want from them. Anything. Number two, they already have it. They don't even have to send for it. They've got it in a gigantic warehouse that's a mile long and a mile wide and a mile deep. It's a wonderful place for that. And number three, the best thing about them, they send us a percentage of whatever you order. So Colonel Jeff and I, on our show here, the Larry Miller Show, we get from Amazon money based on what you order from them. And that's the greatest thing in the world. We take that money, we put it right in our big tin box, and we save it for our next big fancy fried chicken dinner with 2 drinks beforehand in a different place. And I like Amazon for that. You don't even have to go to them for it. We'll take you there. Go to our website, LarryMillerPodcast.com. Who's on the mountain, Tom Mix? What in the world was that? You don't know. He doesn't know. That's what's funny about it. He doesn't know either, but he goes finds something. It sounds like an Aliens movie from the 50s, which is a compliment, by the way, to them, not to you. But it's a compliment to both of you. So at any rate, that's how you get to Amazon. You go to our website, and we have a banner that says Amazon. You click our banner, then go take a nap. We'll get you there. We'll wake up in the middle of the night. It doesn't matter whether we're on Milleronia or back on the mainland. We'll get up, both Colonel Jeff and I. We have a red light that goes beep on the phone. Normally, we only use it to talk to the president while we're wearing flip-flops. And you know what, folks? We'll get you there. And by PayPal. That's still a great name and a great company. You know what? You work with PayPal, you feel like you're saving the world, and who knows, maybe you really are. And if you enjoy my show here, and why wouldn't you, and you'd like to send us a few bucks to help out, and why wouldn't you, you can do it through PayPal. So instead of saying, I've never been a big fan of the, well, donate, or words like that, or pay what you like, or join the Platinum Committee, I always like to say, buy us some drinks. That's just the best way to go, because there are different levels, level 1 through 5, all the way up to... We're driving to Florida! So, you know what? Look for the PayPal banner on our website as well. Remember, LarryMillerPodcast.com. Who's on the mountain? Tom Mix. Boy, the driver of that truck shouldn't have had the fish. And every little bit helps us keep the old leg lamp lit here, folks. And thank you very much to everyone who has contributed already and everyone who is about to. And by me, that's right, my book that I just love. I worked very hard on it. Did great when it was released, called Spoiled Rotten America. And it's now for sale. Signed hardcover copies of the book now for sale at store.comedyfilmnerds.com. And, well, again, that means a lot. Thank you for those who've already bought it and those who are about to. And that brings me to my favorite part of the show, the joke of the week. I love that. The footsteps, the cartoon footsteps getting ready to run, that bongo drum. This is a good joke. Colonel Jeff and I both liked it. We hope you like it too, and pass it along to someone you like as much as this joke. 2 blondes are waiting for a bus, and one pulls up there in the middle of New York, and the first blonde, the driver opens the door and smiles, and the first blonde leans in and says, "Will this bus take me to Fifth Avenue?" And the driver says, "I'm sorry, no." And the second blonde leans in and says, "How about me?" We got a kick out of that. That's just funny. if you need an explanation for that, I'm sorry. You don't have, well, the Garry Marshall touch of show business. If you like that one, pass it along to a loved one or a friend or a family member. And that brings me to my second favorite part of the show, the Poetry Corner. Boy, that string quartet is always good. This is a poem written by the great John Milton. He was English and lived from 1608 to 1674. And by the way, starting with as soon as he passed away for a long time, and still considered one of the greatest English authors ever. And I think you'll agree after hearing this. It's Sonnet 7, How Soon Hath Time the Subtle Thief of Youth, by John Milton, and here we go. How soon hath time, the subtle thief of youth, stolen on his wing my 23 year. My hasting days fly on with full career, but my late spring no bud or blossom sheweth. Perhaps my semblance might deceive the truth, that I to manhood am arrived so near, and inward ripeness doth much less appear, that some more timely happy spirits endureth. Yet be it less or more, or soon or slow, it shall be still in strictest measure even. To that same lot, however mean or high, toward which time leads me, and the will of heaven. All is, if I have grace to use it so, as ever in my great taskmaster's eye. Isn't that lovely? Good for you, John Milton, for so many other things. But there is nothing like a poet so good that he or she knows how to take our attention with the way words are moved. Thank you, pal. And that brings me to my third favorite part of the show. MMM. Triple M. The Magic Movie Moment. Oh, this is a wonderful movie, folks, and I hope you've seen it already many times. Like me, Colonel Jeff agrees. It's called Going My Way from 1944, starring Bing Crosby, Barry Fitzgerald, Frank McHugh, Karen James, Gene Lockhart. Good Lord, what a cast. It's a wonderful movie, and they won a whole bunch of Academy Awards with it. That's 1944, remember, so that's still in the middle of World War II. And, boy, that was a tough time for us in our country, and many men and women were serving, but many men on that front line there. And, boy, oh boy, it's just wonderful, though. You can't not love this movie. It doesn't matter. Sometimes some people have said, well, it's a little schmaltzy. I'm not even sure what that means anymore. I know it's great. You'll be so touched. And in it, by the way, Father Fitzgibbon, who's the elderly priest, played by the great Barry Fitzgerald, is talking about, well, he's going to be replaced by Bing Crosby as Father O'Malley. And he doesn't quite like him so much, and Frank McHugh is another one of the priests there. They're all great together. And, well, you know what? Father Fitzgibbon, that's Barry Fitzgerald, keeps saying he just wants to meet his mother. They've been apart from 45 years, and he's from Ireland, and she's still there. Good Lord, she's over 90 years old. And you know what? So much happens, folks, in this movie that makes you, it touches you so much. It seems like simple ways, but they're far more than simple. And, well, folks, after going around the bend here and there, and they all wind up liking each other. And Father Fitzgibbon, well, Barry Fitzgerald winds up just loving Bing Crosby and really seeing what a great priest he is and what a great fella he is. And Bing sings sometimes to him. And you know what? Near the end of the movie, sure enough, after things burn down, things are built up again. And you know what? There's the boys' choir singing a great Irish ballad that Bing Crosby taught them, Tura Lura Lura. And, well, right then, Barry Fitzgerald's mother shows up in the back of the church there, and he sees her and she sees him. And if you don't watch this with tears in your eyes, folks, I'm afraid the whole point of motion pictures is beyond you. It's a great, great moment. It is a magic movie moment. The whole movie is filled with magic moments like that, with good people getting better and better and better at who they are in the movie. There's a young girl who didn't have any money, and she meets one of the sons of a big real estate guy, and he's not happy about that. And, well, he goes to their apartment. Turns out they got married. The two young ones got married, and he's not happy about that either. That's Gene Lockhart. He wants to say to them, and he wants to say to her, you know what? You should have contacted me. You shouldn't have moved this fast. And he's not a mean man, but he's trying to figure out a way to talk them out of this, to get this undone. And his son isn't even there, but, then his son, he says to the girl there, he says, where is my son? And she said, well, he's here a second. He's just in the back. And, well, the father and the audience, we start to think, oh, he was just afraid to come out. But it's not that. He comes out, and for the first time in the movie, he's wearing a lieutenant's uniform in the Army. He joined the Army Air Force, and the father just melts, and you do too. If your eyes aren't overflowing when you're touched by this moment and what that meant to them in 1944 and to all Americans in 1944, he's going right off to serve. And the father is touched. Suddenly the father realizes what the two kids realized. It was right for them to get married because they knew he was going to sign up and go right into war. And folks, this is a great movie. That's two great magic movie moments there. But see it. If you haven't, Going My Way from 1944, starring Bing Crosby, Barry Fitzgerald, Frank McHugh, Gene Lockhart, Karen James. So many great people in it. And if you've seen it 30 times, see it 31. If you haven't seen it, sit down and watch it. You'll be glad you did. And speaking of going off in the military, my son, the Marine, just left. That's why we're in town. Because a couple of days ago, my sister was visiting and staying with us. It was a great time to see her. It was just I love her and she loves me. It was wonderful to see her. And sure enough, right in the middle of this is when my son is deploying to the Middle East. And we took my wife and my sister and our younger son and I drove off last Sunday morning to drive down to his base and see him. And what a great day. What a blessing. It's frankly like going my way. It's just filled with wonderful moments. And, well, he came off base. He was walking off base. He doesn't have a car anymore. And he gave that to his brother, in fact. And he walked off base and met us at a Shell station right near the base there, just off the base. And see him walk up, boy, and we all hugged and kissed. And that was about noon on Sunday. And then we were all hungry. Well, we hadn't eaten. No one had eaten anything. We left the house here about 9 in the morning. And we wanted to go somewhere for lunch. And my wife said, come on, let's pick a place right now. And not surprisingly, just off a Marine base, you're going to have a lot of restaurants. That's not a shock. And there were so many around there. It could have been Denny's or a Chinese restaurant, several Chinese restaurants, or a Mexican restaurant, or Domino's. They have plenty of those. There was one joint with a cowboy hat on it. That amazed me, that one, because they didn't even need a name. It's just a place with a cowboy hat. Close enough. I could go there. You could go there. But there was one there we saw, and it was an Outback restaurant. I had never been to an Outback restaurant. That's the one that has, I think it's Australian steak, so they get their supplies from Australia. And none of us had ever been to an Outback either. And we all wanted to go. And plus the fact it was a very hot day. Not just hot or very hot, frankly. It was like very, very hot. It was like crazy hot. Like where people on Mercury would say, that's too hot. And we said, let's go to Outback. Plus we all knew it from the commercials. And they're selling these things now called the Bloomin' Onion. Now, you must have seen that on TV. You must have seen that on the commercials. And even on the TV commercials, you'll just say, well, that looks pretty good, the Bloomin' Onion. Why not that? And we wanted to go to a place that would be cool, that had good air conditioning. And where we knew we could sit for a while without feeling forced out. We wanted to sit there and just be together. And that was the most important thing, of course, to be together. And we did that. And folks, this place, I've got to tell you, was terrific, man. They're not a sponsor, but they had its dark wood booths, and we took one there. And it was so comfortable to sit. And we ordered all the same thing. We all ordered a steak. Everyone said, oh, this place is known for the steaks. And we were all pretty hungry, so we all ordered a steak. And we all ordered mushrooms in gravy on the side. And broccoli in cheese sauce on the side. And they bring out these hot rolls, hot loaves of dark bread thing with a big ice cream scoop sized butter scoops. And then, folks, so this is really going well. We're looking forward to this and saying, hey, we went to the right place. And the air conditioning was terrific. It was blasting. And that's what we wanted. And the booths were comfy. And that's what we wanted. And it wasn't jam-packed either. It wasn't where you had to wait. It was just what we wanted. And then our waiter, our young 22-year-old waiter, said to us something that changed the whole meal. He said, would you like to start with a bloomin' onion that you and I know from the commercials? And I guess everyone orders that. How do you not order it? He said, yeah, with bloomin' onion. And I said to him, are those good? And he did what every waiter should do. He said, what do I know? He said, look, I'm working here. I'm 22. Leave me alone. Would you like to order one? But we did. We ordered a bloomin' onion. As I said, we'd already been talking about it before we ordered the food, because as soon as we said, hey, maybe we'll go to Outback. And we all said to each other, what are those bloomin' onions? And we were talking about it because, well, just like you again, we've been seeing it on their TV commercials. And so we ordered one brick. There's no other word for it, by the way. It's a brick. That's the word you have to use. They don't call it that, but I'm telling you, it's not a loaf. It's not an order. It's not a blossom. I don't know what the heck it is, except it's a brick. And it's very hot and it's fragrant. I mean, you can smell it anywhere. You can smell it in a lead box. And it's heavy. That plate is heavy and perfectly made for just reaching over and taking a few, then a few more. They designed it well, I mean. They make it well. They fry it well. Again, if you've never had fried food, you could glance at this and say, that's fried food. But folks, I'm telling you, that we all had a few of these as our other food was being made. And I got to tell you, it was very, very good. That bloomin' onion is, it's not good for you. I mean, for crying out loud, it's 109 degrees outside, but you're in a fantastically cool place in a nice booth. So they bring that thing, and it had, boy, you just eat that and you say, this is really good. And, you could say the meal started with the bloomin' onion. I'm telling you, the meal ended with the blooming onion. That thing is so spicy and so salty and so everythinged that nothing you put in your mouth afterwards is even noticeable. And I mean noticeable. We all went through this. All the other food got there, and, hey, how's your steak? And we'd all say, I don't know. I can't taste it. Can you taste yours? Well, no, I can't. I'm telling you, folks, you can't. This is that brick of thing. And I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying it's not the kind of thing you want on a date, because, how do you reach into a fried thing and just pull out more parts of the bloom there? And I'm telling you, everything else was, you'd have some of the French onion soup. And after a few tablespoons, you start thinking, I can't taste it, because all I can taste is bloomin' onion. And the mushrooms and the gravy, how are those? I don't know. They're all fine. Take a big bite of your steak or a little bite. And how's that? I think it's okay. I don't know, because I've got too much bloomin' onion in my mouth, in my body. And the same thing, the broccoli and cheddar cheese. And the sauce, it looked good, but we couldn't taste them. So every so often you'd have another thing because you thought you should. Every so often you'd pick up another big piece of broccoli and take a bite and go, well, how's that? I think it ought to be okay. But every single time that well, you know what? We went back to the bloomin' brick, which never seemed to end, by the way. It seemed to keep blooming. But it was terrific the whole time. It's one of those things with 2,000 calories a bite. But we were having so much fun just being together. And of course, that's really the only thing that matters. We stayed there so long, folks. We all went to the bathroom twice. And that was great too, because each time you walk back from the bathroom, well, you're all washed up and you feel, and you feel clean and washed and great, and you're walking back. Each walk back from the bathroom, it's like you're on the Andrea Doria. It's like in a storm. So your gait gets wider, but you didn't care. I felt so comfortable. I mean, we ate a bunch of food, but folks, it was one of those great bunches where it was never too much. You never felt, well, holy mackerel, let me just unbuckle my pants here. It was terrific. And that place, by the way, I think they deserve a tip of the hat. Outback. They did a good job. We stayed 2.5 hours. Now, that's a pretty long time. And no one made us feel we had to leave. And we've never done that in a restaurant, but we were so comfy just being together and being cool from the air conditioning and being bloomed from the onion. And you know what? After about, it was 2.5 hours. It was just a little after 3:00. And then finally we all left and we got in our car with everybody and we went on base to my son's barracks to see his room and his friends. And, well, it's hot again, but that's all right. We were so happy just being together. And my son and his younger brother, of course, were going back immediately. You know how boys are. They just go back to, well, strangling each other, completely in the back seat next to me. And you're seeing elbows going wham into each other and then punches. And they're laughing to beat the band. No one ever said, well, they would say, ow, but it was with a laugh. Ow! Because, well, getting punched by a Marine, but I mean, you're going to notice it. And, boy, we took him then to his barracks. And it's so interesting. You notice that all the other Marines are kids. When you look at them, I know them. They've been to our house a bunch of times, and some of them, and we'd go up to my kids' rooms there in the barracks, and their rooms. They were there. You notice that they're kids too. You realize, oh, how do you like that? They're kids, but not the kind of kid you were or I was. That's the important thing to notice and remember. They're really in great shape, and they've learned a lot. They're tough. They're Marines. And we took my son to the PX there, which is, it's as Colonel Jeff was pointing out, it's like your college bookstore, but not at all like that, really. It just has all sorts of other stuff. And by the way, as far as my college bookstore goes, I didn't even go there either. So it could have been like my college bookstore, but they have a lot of stuff that's mainly really for parents, for the wives, the moms who come there. And we got him a laptop because the next day he was deploying to the Middle East. And that's where he is now. We got a message from him just before the Colonel and I went to work here and started recording. And, well, boy, he's on his way. And I can't tell you where and I can't tell you how, but he's going there and he's going to do a great job. And, he'll have our prayers with him. So, you know what, folks? That's the only thing there is to know. In the end, we still know the same things, you and I. Homer is Homer. Pluto is a planet. And boy, oh boy, wherever your kids are going, remember, as always, if you walked out of bed today and had a job to go to and a home to come back to and someone there who cares about you, folks, the game's over and you've won. Be well, and we'll see you here next time.